Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with my friend Bob Lamb, who's going to be talking about ShardSecure, his company, and also a little bit about the industry and his background. I think you're going to enjoy it, especially if you like encryption. So Bob, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you, Ed. Great to see you.
Very nice to see you as well. So, Bob, why don't you take a minute and just share a little bit, real briefly, about the company, and then we can get into a little bit of your backstory.
Sure. ShardSecure was founded around 18 months ago by four of us. There are four co-founders. We all have been around in the security space for 15, 20 years, each one of us, and we got to know you. Some of us got to know you for a number of years now, Ed. And so the idea really is we didn't see any innovation in data security for the last 20, 30 years. Obviously, people can use encryption and it works in many cases or in most cases. But most business people, business users are not happy with the friction that is caused by encryption. And we can talk more about that, right? Especially with the journey to the cloud. And by the way, when we started the company, we didn't know we would see an acceleration to the cloud adoption in the last, 4 or 5 months, right? Seems like 4 or 5 years. So really, in all honesty, if you stay everything on premises, you're probably 95% okay just using encryption. But as you move to the cloud, we're talking about a totally different ballgame. And you and I talk about it, the cloud providers are doing a better job now, right? Amazon, Google, and Azure, securing the infrastructure inside the cloud. But in terms of the data, the shared responsibility model, we think we can fill a big gap there, complementing what the cloud providers have been doing or doing a very good job in securing the data and even augmenting encryption in the near term. Longer term, we also have a bigger goal to potentially replace encryption for some of the use cases. And how do we do it? Very quickly. We have something we call microsharding. And you probably heard about sharding many, many times, many, many years, usually being used by the storage vendors to do performance, improve the performance, resiliency. Our innovation, by the way, we're expecting a patent on this pretty soon, is microsharding. We are able to break the data sets into single-digit bytes, 3 or 4 bytes, for example. Like in the US, our social security number is 9 bytes. We break it down into 4 bytes, and we add a little bit of poison data. We also compress the data. In a way, in any single storage location, whether it is on premises or in a multi-cloud environment we operate in, is basically useless for the hackers if they get hold of any of the microshards. And that is the idea to reduce or potentially eliminate the sensitivity of the data.
That's an exciting approach. Let me take you way back. I've known you a while. I know this idea didn't just hit you yesterday. So tell us a little bit about your background. Like, what type of work had you been doing that positioned you to take advantage of this insight that you had in sharding?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And so I have been in the cybersecurity industry for over 20 years now. First 10 years, actually, I was on the investment side. I was investing in different cybersecurity companies. I was at Bear Stearns. I'm sure you remember Bear Stearns. I was I actually ended up running the cybersecurity practice on the investment side of Bear Stearns. So after 10 years or so, at first I was at Bear Stearns, and then I started my own boutique advisory shop. I decided, you know what, it's so much more fun to be on the good side, which is being an entrepreneur, right? So around 10, 12 years ago, I started working with different startups. I mean, there was one company I was running business development. It was in California, a company called Pareto Networks. I don't remember Pareto. It was one of the earliest cloud networking company, and it was probably too early, and got acquired by Aerohive. And then I came back to New York, and I co-founded Bayshore, as you know, Bayshore with our friend Francis. And, it's one of the earliest, right, IoT, industrial IoT security companies. And then, as you know, our mutual friends, Lou, always has some really big ideas. And this company, ShardSecure, actually came from an incubator, CTM Insights, which you know very well since you've been helping Lou on that. And Lou created this idea, came up with this idea 2017 or so. And I think he was working on some prototype. And then timing was right. I finished my tenure with Bayshore mid 2018. And then Lou and I said, well, you know, we should work on this together. And so we actually put a team together. So Lou and I are the co-founders here. And we also have two technology co-founders, Krista and Jasper, who also have been around for quite a long time. They started different companies. One of them was a company called Nordic Edge, which is one of the earliest one-time password company, got acquired by Intel McAfee. So four of us started building the beta in 2019, and we got some of our good friends involved. I'm happy that you're involved, helping us in a way, interviewing us. But we also did our seed round of funding. Our early stage venture firm, Signway Ventures in DC, they're a very smart team, especially in cyber. There's a large European venture firm called Industry Fondant. They're also involved in us, and our friend Tom Noonan. You know Tom. Tom has got many years in the industry leader. So he's both an investor and an advisor for us. So we're trying to get all the good friends together and trying to do something that we think it could be really big. And that's how we got started. And it's been fun.
It's an excellent story. Excellent story. So I have to ask you, beta in 2019, and I know this year you're rolling out and visiting with many customers. How do you feel about doing it in 2020? I mean, 2020 is going to go down as this crazy year with COVID and, everybody in a pandemic mode and so on. Has that been turned out to be an issue with, really gearing up in 2020, or has it been somewhat adjacent to the work you're doing?
It's interesting. I mean, first of all, we got lucky. We finished the funding round right before COVID. So we actually raised a little bit more than we thought we would. So that was another good thing. But the timing was right in terms of with the movement to accelerate the cloud adoption, work from home, work from anywhere. It's actually in very short term, over the 2-3 month time frame. Of course, we couldn't get anyone to pay attention to this, right? I would say from April, May, even part of June time frame. But I think longer term, this is the right solution to help companies, help our customers to move to the cloud quickly. As you know, encryption takes a lot of time to deploy. And this could be a solution not only at extra security, but you can actually deploy much faster, because for us, it's pretty straightforward. It's a container. It can be a VM. You can deploy it on Amazon, Google, Azure, IBM, Oracle, but you could also put it on premises. You can just put it right in front of any storage devices before you ship to the cloud. So that's the flexibility that we provide. And in a way, we reduce the attack services to the ShardSecure engine for the most sensitive data.
I remember you and I talking a couple months ago, we were talking about cloud security. And I think it occurred to me, and I know it occurred to you way longer than it hit me, but it was clear that being in the cloud security business in 2020 is not such a bad place to be. It's really, I mean, viewed at a high level, you're helping people secure data that they virtualized and everybody's virtualizing. So, as just gut wrenching as it is to deal with the health issue that we've got globally, for companies that are doing cloud security, it's probably going to be something that will create more demand. Good or bad, I think it's just a fact. So, hey, where do you think things are headed? Do you think I think you and I have always talked a lot about the shift to cloud. I think that's a given. We all know that. Is multi-cloud kind of the new thing, like where it used to be, do we go to the cloud? Now that's a given. Is it more this question of just about everybody's got this assortment of cloud services? And I know that's one of the value propositions you guys have, that you can support multiple. Do you think that's where things are going? Is that the next new wave, multi-cloud?
Yeah, I really do, especially for very large customers, but even for mid-sized customers. we're working with a large hedge fund in the city, in New York City, where I am now, and they have been a AWS shop 100%. They're looking to expand into another cloud provider, diversify into another cloud provider. But for Fortune 500 companies, multi-cloud is the way to go for many reasons. You know, you have to bet, number one, and number two, as good a job AWS has been doing, Amazon as a company is very big. It touches a lot of different verticals that some customer might not want to be too dependent on them. So we are talking to work with a large healthcare company that they said, you know, we're mostly Amazon, but we really want to diversify into GCP and Azure. So we are helping them with that in terms of reducing the risk at each single cloud provider in a way.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bob, what is your sales approach? Are you guys selling directly to enterprise? You're selling through partners? You've been at this so long. As you thought this through for this technology, what did you come up with as the sort of sales process here?
Yeah, so that's a great question, man. Like we hire a very strong head of sales, Robert Stephen. He came from a very good pedigree in security as well. He's been with us almost 5 months now. We're getting a lot of good success with him, and we also signed up 2 new resellers. One of them is Red River. You probably heard of Red River. Another one is DC Consulting, and they're actually pumping up a lot of leads, qualified leads and opportunities for us. Longer term, you know, I think it's going to be a combination of Robert and his team, direct sales, resellers, you know, very security focused resellers. But I also see this as, you know, even the cloud providers could be a partner for us. We're going to get on AWS Marketplace and Azure as well. Just think about historically, as you know, the cloud providers have found it very challenging to convince large companies, especially banks, right, in the tri-state area, to move to the cloud. And this is a solution to let the CIO and the CISOs of the large global banks sleep better when they move to the cloud. Because 4 months ago, they might have a choice not moving to the cloud. Now they really don't have a choice, right? So we think we can actually help the cloud providers work with the very large customers to accelerate that cloud adoption, not just moving to the cloud, but also moving the sensitive data to the cloud. It's just a lot more efficient that way.
You know, Bob, there's probably a lot of people watching here who admire you. You've been with a number of really cool companies. You've been a great founder. For people who are watching who are either considering or starting their own new company, I'm curious if you have some advice or some wisdom, you know, having been at this for a while. If you feel that urge to start a company, you want to do a startup, what do you think are some of the things that are important to be going through your head, maybe some things to avoid or some things to focus on? What have you seen as successful for people, including yourself, but others that have been around you in making a startup work?
Yeah, I think, thanks for the question. I think number one is you have to have the passion. You really have to love starting companies. You have to want to be in the security space because, you know, security has grown a lot, as you know extremely well, at last 20, 25 years. And a lot of new players, new founders, got to be in the security space. But it's hard, right? It is hard. There's so many, there are thousands of companies. The market's getting much bigger. That's the good news. But this is not easy. I mean, you have to be persistent. You have to have the passion. It's got to build the right team. You got to build the right founding team. One person cannot do it alone. And I think that's the key, right? And also don't build another Me Too company, right? I think one of the advantage we have is we really credit to our good friend Lou Steinberg that this is absolutely not a Me Too company. It's hard to get it off the ground, but we're making really good progress. I mean, it's exciting. I think those would be the suggestion and advice, you know, that I would give to new founders in the security space.
I think that's excellent advice. I'll take that advice myself. So, hey, listen, I want to, on behalf of the folks watching, I want to thank you. I assume at your website, probably the easiest place to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And again, on behalf of the folks here, thanks for sharing your insights. And it is always my great pleasure to catch up with you. And I always learn something new when we talk. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ed. I hope everyone is staying well, staying safe.
Same to you. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.